G'day guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is, what is it? Saturday, November the 9th, 2024. And what a beautiful day we've got today here in the Macedon Ranges. I know I say that every day, but today in particular is absolutely beautiful. Not a cloud in the sky, well there is a couple of clouds, but not enough to get worried about anyway. So, and Neil is very much enjoying his little trot today. So onto the boxing, and not a lot happening as far as news goes, but there is a couple of fight nights on this weekend, and headlined by, Keyshawn Davis, Gustavo Lima. So looking forward to this one. I'm not sure whether it's actually on Foxtel. I'll have to check that. Hopefully I've got the fingers crossed it'll be on, but Lemos I think actually came in, 6 pounds or something like that. That's a lot of weight. So it was at over 6 pounds, so over 3 kilos over in a world title. Is it a world title fight? No, it's not a world title fight, is it? It's just a lightweight fight. But yeah, that's strange. He has had issues in the past, Lemos, so I think he's had to pass over a fair bit of his purse to Keyshawn Davis to make sure the fight goes ahead. But mate, if you can't make the weight, this is not the first time, just move up. Just go up to super lightweight. Plenty of good fights up there for you, but don't embarrass yourself and disrespect everyone involved, especially your opponent, your team, everything like that. Don't do it. Just go up to super lightweight. So that's on. On the undercard should be good. Abdullah Mason's on. Who's he fighting? Johan Vasquez over 8 rounds at lightweight. So that'll be good. I like Abdullah Mason. A couple other fighters on there. Not really familiar with many of them. Troy Isley against Tyler Howard. They're probably the only ones of note on there. The other card on, which should be really good, is the fight, so that's tonight, so that'll be tomorrow our time here in Australia, with Boots Ennis and Bam Rodriguez on as well. Particularly looking forward to the Bam Rodriguez fight with Pedro Guevara. We know, of course, we remember him from earlier in the year when he had that controversial win over Andrew Maloney for the interim WBC super flyweight belt. So he gets his chance, and it's just, I don't know, it's sliding door moments, isn't it? To think that Andrew Maloney could have been over there today fighting Bam Rodriguez would have been good for, an amazing opportunity for Andrew, but that's the fickleness of boxing, isn't it? That is now Pedro Guevara who's fighting for that WBC super flyweight or junior bantamweight title. So also on that card, which should be good, is Raymond Ford. So he's fighting Orlando Gonzalez over 10 rounds at junior lightweight. So apart from that, not a lot happening this weekend. That fight, by the way, is on DAZN, so I'll be definitely checking it out on DAZN. But yeah, I'll have to look and see whether the Keyshawn Davis fight will be on ESPN on Foxtel. So, all right, so on to today, and a little bit more in my journey in boxing, and this time it's a little bit of a different track, I suppose, because after, I think I said, if you watched yesterday or the last episode that I did, the end of 90. So 89, I won the 3rd Australian title as a junior. 1990 was really an in-between sort of year. I think I said in the video that it was probably decided, I can't really remember if I'm being honest, but I think it was decided that maybe it was a little bit of a step up to go back to the association and fight for the Australian title, senior title over there, because I would have just turned senior, just turned 17, to go up against the likes of Spike Sheeny and Stephen Scriggins. I'm not sure whether Shannon Taylor was around the weight at the moment, or at that stage. I would have been a light welterweight, I think it would have been, so 63.5 kilos. So it would have been someone like a Shannon Taylor or Spike Sheeny or maybe a Stephen Scriggins. And if you know, especially someone like a Shannon Taylor, who was a bit of a killer back then at that weight, and Spike Sheeny, of course, with the experience. So in hindsight, it was probably a good option maybe not to go to the Nationals. And I know I probably could have stayed in the league and gone to the seniors the Australian titles, but I think I said again that we'd made the decision that as soon as I turned senior, I would go back to the association and try and qualify for whatever was coming up. So after 1990, I think I'd had about, I'm just trying to think how many fights. I would have had to have had 35 fights or something by then, I'm assuming. Maybe even more. I can't remember. I'd have to add them all up. But I was in between all this in my boxing. I actually had the opportunity to be an exchange student. Now, I'd always sort of wanted to go to North America, United States, Canada, whatever it might have been. And I saw the ad in the paper one day. Rotary were doing the Rotary Youth Exchange Program, and my mum actually said, well, why don't you apply? And I was like, well, okay, why don't I apply? And so I did. I went through the process, and lucky enough, I was chosen to go. It was by the Eagle Hawk Rotary Club. Now, Eagle Hawk is a suburb of Bendigo where I used to live, and I was chosen to go to North America. Now, when I put down your preference, I actually chose the USA. Of course, I'm going to go to the USA. It's been my dream since I've been a little kid to go to the USA, and so I put it in, and I was actually read out, because what they did, they got us all together and read out where we were going and everything, and I was just praying I didn't go to Europe or somewhere like that. Not that I've got anything against Europe, I just had no interest at all going there. I wanted to go to America or nothing. And they read it out, and they said, Lyndon Hosking, North America, and I'm thinking, wow, that is awesome. But then they gave me the address. I think it was the address or something of where I was staying or where I was going to school or something like that. And the postcode didn't look like an American postcode. It had letters in it. Now, if you look at America, they're a lot like us. They've just got numbers, but these had letters in it. I'm thinking, hang on, what the hell is this? So again, we didn't have internet back then to really do our research, but we did look into it a little bit, and it turns out that the postcode were actually Canadian postcodes, or it was a Canadian postcode, and I'm thinking, hang on. So again, we did a little bit of research and worked out that where indeed I'd been chosen for North America, but the zone I was put in, the region or whatever they split them up into around North America, just happened that it was overlapped Canada, and I just happened to be plonked into Canada. So if you look at the map, if you are familiar with the North American maps, you're up the top end of New York, which is Buffalo. Then you have the border, and then you go into Ontario, Canada. Well, that region, for some reason, I still don't know why, but the region that was there was overlapping the Buffalo area and southern Ontario. So I was in fact now going to go to Canada, and I must admit at the start I was a bit taken back, but I thought, oh well, it's Canada. I didn't really know much about it except for some of the boxers that I followed over there, and of course we watched Lennox Lewis win the Olympics and all that sort of stuff, and I thought, oh well, okay, Canada it is. So I went over to Canada, and I've got to say it was the best thing that ever happened. It was an awesome place to go, and I've still got friends there from this day. And I'm not going to go through my trip with about my social exchange program trip. It's probably more the boxing side of things. So I'll cut to the chase anyway. I've spoken too long about that. But so I'll get to Canada, and I had an awesome host family. So welcoming, and they had a bit of money, which was good. They had a beautiful house, and the neighbourhood was just beautiful. So I mentioned that with the boxing, I said, look, I'd love to if there's any gyms around here I'd like to go to, and everything like that. So they did a little bit of research, and they said, well, there's this gym in a place called Welland, which is about a 15-minute drive from where I was, which was a little town called Port Colborne in Ontario. Population of 16,000, I think it was, so only small, but just a great little town. I had an absolute ball there, by the way. A lot of stories for another time, but I welcomed into the school. I travelled and went to everyone's parties, and it was just the best experience I've ever had. But anyway, so it was about 15 minutes from Port Colborne, and they said, look, it's this sort of gym I don't really know much about. And I thought, well, anything's better than nothing. So they took me to this gym in Welland, Canada, Ontario, and it was called Napper's Boxing Gym. And it was a big old, looked like some sort of big scout hall. It was actually quite a big gym. It was literally like a hall. So it was really, really good size. I had a couple of rings in there, and I remember being really impressed, thinking, wow, this is boxing. This is a real boxing gym. So, and I met the trainer there. His name was Ray Napper, and again, knew nothing about him or the gym or anything else. Well, it turns out that Ray Napper was one of the most respected coaches in Canada. been on numerous teams, you know, away, and there was a boxer there by the name of Tom Gillespie. And Tom Gillespie turned out to be the Canadian heavyweight champion and had just returned from, well, not just returned, but he had been to the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. And he was a big unit, a real loose cannon, by the way. You could tell as soon as you met him that he was a bit out there. He had the earrings and the leather jackets and the tats, and you know, he's a bit of a rough sort of dude, but really, really good guy. So he was the star of the gym. And as I said, he'd just been to the Seoul Olympics, you know, national champion over and over and over. But they had a lot of other really good amateurs, a lot of state and national champions in that gym. And so I'd literally hit the jackpot. I'd found a gym that was elite, so many fighters around my weight, just elite sparring. So I trained there. They used to think I was crazy because, again, the way we sort of sparred in Australia was, you know, treating them like their fights. So I didn't know any better. So I'm in there sparring these guys, and they're trying to actually spar. That's what they do. They actually try and learn. Us crazy Aussies go in there and try and fight. So I had to. It was really good under his tutelage because he really pulled me back, focused a lot more on skill and technique, and not just going in there and trying to brawl and knock everyone out, to actually think a little bit more. And I had no choice, by the way, because I'm in there with some very, very good fighters who, if I did go in there a little bit haphazard, then I paid the price. So I learned so much. And the only thing I didn't like about it was the colours of the gym were brown and white, if you can imagine that. Brown with white. So look, the next obviously thing after training for probably 6 weeks, whatever it was, well, I want to fight. Am I allowed to fight? Now, I'm not sure whether I was allowed to fight because I never asked. I was just very lucky I had host parents who said, yeah, whatever, do what you want. You're here to have fun. So they penciled me in for a fight. Now, when I got there, I think I was only about 64 or 65 kilos or something like that. But they penciled me in for a fight. And I fought this really tough guy from, I think it was from Niagara Falls, the Niagara Falls gym. We had a really good gym there as well. Lots of good fighters coming out of there, like a Mike Strange, who was a very, very good Canadian fighter, multiple Olympics, Commonwealth Games. So he's from that gym so he could fight. And so I fought this guy. He's a little bit heavier than me, but I didn't care. I just wanted to fight in North America. So I donned the brown and white shorts, or the trunks and the singlet, and got in there and fight. And it ended up being absolute bloodbath because I don't know what it was, but when I got to Canada, there must have been something in the air. It was winter. So it was, I remember when I first got there, it was -18, by the way. It was winter, and must have been something in the air or whatever it was, the climate, the atmosphere, whatever it is, the altitude, I don't know what it was, but I was starting getting really bad blood noses. I'd be in the shower or whatever, and I'd have a blood nose, or out walking, I'd get a blood nose. I don't know what it was, and I never got blood noses. But so in that fight, of course, as soon as I start going, the blood starts pumping, and I don't know whether I wore one or not, but it was just blood. It was just blood just everywhere. And they probably could have stopped the fight. There was that much blood. They just couldn't stop it bleeding. And but I got through it. I was covered in blood. My opponent was covered in blood. My host parents were absolutely horrified because they'd gone there to watch it, of course. They loved it, but they were horrified that, oh my God, look, this is barbaric. But they loved the actual boxing itself. And I won the fight. So that was one down. So I was pretty happy with myself. I had my first international win. And I was sort of on my way. And then I think I only had 3 or 4 fights over there, because I'll explain why in a sec. But I got to a couple of months later, and I fought, I think it was in Toronto, and I ended up fighting the national junior champion. So he was, I would have been 17. So I think he might have been 16, maybe 17, something like that, around the same age. But he was the Canadian junior champion. And I think he just got back from the Worlds in the juniors anyway, whatever it was. But I fought him, and I ended up stopping him in the 2nd or 3rd round, I think it was. And really starting to feel the improvement. And look, not necessarily by anything that the coach had done. It was really just sometimes you've got to be around like elite fighters, an elite environment. And I think that really made me grow. Nothing untoward against my gym, of course, or what I was training back home. But when you're in a gym and, you're just training with your other mates or whatever it might be, but no one really, pressing for national or international level or anything like that. You sort of stagnate a little bit. And I found that later in my career as well, that, as soon as I got around, the amateur national team, again, you just can't help but improve. So that's what it's like in the gym, in that gym over there, to be in that ring, in the ring with some really good amateur fighters over there, and some pros as well, by the way. But to be just in that environment around other fighters with, the same ability and goals and are just as driven as what you are, you can't help but improve. And that's what I really felt was happening. So I stopped him. I can't ever remember his name, but that was my second win. And then I was probably mid-year, I think it was, I had my third fight. This was probably almost too much to bite off, if I'm being honest, because I fought a guy, I don't think there was anyone around to get a fight at my weight. I was about 60, I was fighting at 67, I think, at that stage. So 147 pounds, whatever it was, and which was always hard, again, by the way, over there, because I'm always talking kilograms, they talking pounds. So with this little language barrier, I had to sort of get my head around the whole pound thing. But I fought a guy who was 154, so he was 70 kilos. So he was a little bit heavier than me, but he was a big, tough, solid African-American guy from Rochester, New York. And it was in Welland. It was the Welland show. Every year they put on one or two shows. So I had to have a fight in my quote unquote hometown. So he was the only one that was there to fight. So I took him on. He was a tough guy. Now I ended up getting the win, but geez, it was a hard fight. He was solid. No matter what I threw, he just kept coming, and he obviously had some experience as well. Good gyms around that area, and one of my hardest amateur fights that I really had, to be honest. But I got the win, and the fact that he was 3 or 4 kilos heavier obviously didn't help. But really solid guy, but that was it. So I had that. I might have had one other one after. No, maybe I didn't. I think I only had the 3 fights. So what I decided after that is that, because I was there, I was spending so much time training and traveling for sparring and all that sort of stuff, that I wasn't really enjoying my experience of being an exchange student. So I'd knocked back countless trips and all different functions and getaways and all this sort of stuff that all the other exchange students were doing, and I just I was missing all that. So I just thought at the time, look, I'm 17 years of age. I've got plenty of time to get focused back on boxing. I didn't stop training. They had a gym at the school, and occasionally I would still go to the gym in Welland, maybe just once a week instead of 3 or 4 times a week. But they had a gym at the school I was going to. They had a punching bag and a few other bits and pieces in it. So what I did, I still trained pretty much every day, but I just decided that was going to be it for, for the actual fighting side of things. So I still went there, as I said, and sparred and trained, but I just wanted to really enjoy being an actual exchange student. I'm really glad that I did, because I had such an awesome time over there. And look, I've still got friends over there to this day. We do get over there probably once a year to see my friends. They've been over here to see me, and just lifelong friends. So shout out to them, Barry and Rob over there, my 2 besties over there. And since then I've taken my family over there, of course. And my wife Tara is friends with the wives of those guys as well, and it's just been fantastic. So the Canadian side, that's why I've still got a real soft spot for Canada these days as well. I've actually got the Australian and Canadian flags tattooed on my back, actually, just a little tattoo on my shoulder. I got that a few years later when I went back, just because I just love the country so much. And I think I've been there probably 10, 11 times, whatever, but I've been back to actual Port Colborne so many times, and just travelled a little bit around the rest of Canada as well. So if you're ever looking for an absolutely beautiful place to go and travel to, Canada is the country. It is an absolutely just beautiful country, as I said, but just breathtaking as far as some of the the countryside and everything goes. And it's just a fun place to be when it's in winter, when it's snowing, and it's just one of those countries that it's a very neutral country. But if you get a chance, go to Canada or get past this bloody dog again. Anyway, So guys, look, I think that is it for for today's episode. I know it wasn't overly exciting. Come on, buddy. Come on. I know there was no big fights or Australian titles or anything like that, but the next year is when it really started to heat up a little bit, because in 1992 I returned to Australia, of course, and then turned senior, or I was a senior, and I went back to the association, and that's probably where my real journey started, because that's where I went to my first Australian titles, and that really laid the foundation of what was to come later in my amateur career. So guys, again, that is it. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, again, if you've got any comments, questions, whatever it is, make sure you put it in the chat and I'll try and answer them. It's always great getting feedback, and I'm getting plenty, so it's awesome. So guys, that is it, and have a great weekend, and we'll catch you tomorrow.